Blackouts. We're currently now in one of the longest blackouts we've ever had, ever. There has been no power since Christmas. The power turned off around 12 o'clock and it hasn't been back on since. The prediction is it'll turn back on next Saturday. It's currently Wednesday, I believe, at the time of filming this. So the power's going to be off for a long time, which means we're most definitely going to need to get power somehow, because we have a lot of fish tanks in here. We've got fish, they need airflow at the very minimum. The reason the power went off in the first place is we've had some very catastrophic storms lately, and trees have been falling down all over the joint, crushing people's cars, houses, and power lines, and power stations, and all sorts of crazy things like that. So over, I think, 100,000 houses in our area have been affected by these storms. So we're in the fish room right now, and we do have a generator. So I think it's a 6,500 kilowatt generator, which is plenty enough to power heaps of different things in the fish room. But I've only specialized on a couple of different equipment. And basically the reason why I'm making this video for you guys is that if you ever run into a blackout yourself and you have a fish room, I'm going to show you what you can do, things that I don't have myself that you could do as, I guess, preparation for a blackout as well. So I'm just going to quickly run over what equipment we've got running off the generator right now and why I have those equipment running over certain other things. So currently we've got the air pumps running. Right now I don't have a central airline system running in the fish room just because I haven't been able to source a large air pump for it. So I've got small individual air pumps literally scattered around everywhere for multiple different tanks. And they're the main equipment that I've got running right now. So I've got 1, 2, 3, maybe more air pumps running. They're all hooked up to sponge filters, and that's going to be adding oxygen and filtration to all of these aquariums right here. The other thing that I've got running as well is a couple of power filters, and this is just because I simply don't have enough air pumps and sponge filters to be using them. So it's basically just a sponge filter minus the aeration. So I've got 2 power pumps or 2 power filters, internal power filters going on a couple of tanks with some bristlenose grats. Last but not least, for the equipment that I've got on right now is this 6-foot bar light. And the only reason I actually have this light on this aquarium is because of the plants. I have a heap of plants in here and they'll die if they don't have the light that they need. I do have plants in a couple of these aquariums here, but I simply can't be bothered turning on the lights for these aquariums, only on the basis that they get sunlight during the day and this tank doesn't. So that's the equipment I've got running off the generator at the moment. I could be running heaters, I also could be running lighting on everything and the whole sump system, but the pump for this sump is 10,000 litres an hour. It's quite a big pump, and it's really just not necessary when I can just hook up sponge filters instead, because every tank already has sponge filters anyway. So it's just easier for me to only run those equipment. It's less strain on the generator because we're actually using that generator to power our fridges and stuff like that as well. So now I'm going to dive into what you can do during a blackout to give yourself power, what you can do to prepare, and those sorts of things. So believe it or not, blackouts are actually quite a common thing here in Australia, probably across the world as well. Reason being, storms, tree branches, maintenance, things like that. There's always going to be at least a few blackouts per year, no matter what you do. It's literally unavoidable, it just happens. That is problematic for a fish room. So what you can do to prepare for this is 2 things. 1, buy a generator, have it sitting around, make sure you maintain it while it's not being used, so that when you actually come to using the generator, it's ready to be used and it's going to work straight away, and you don't have to pull your hair out basically trying to get it working when you actually need it to work, because half the year the thing's going to be sitting there not being used. So what you're going to need to do is, if you buy a generator, start it, get it running a few times, maybe once a month, just to make sure that the motor's getting use, it's staying maintained, you're putting your fuel in it, whatever other maintenance you need to do for a generator. not an expert. So that's for a generator. That's number one. Generator, probably the most effective and secure method of giving yourself power. All you need is fuel to power the thing, and you get power. Now, the expenses for a generator vary depending on the size generator you're going to get, and obviously that will depend on how many tanks you want to run, what sort of equipment. That's entirely up to you to do the research on that. That's an option. Option number two is battery backup. Now, battery backup is an interesting one, and I find it's mainly used in marine aquariums, just because of the factor that the power literally cannot go off for a marine aquarium because of flow, lighting, many other different reasons. So battery backups are more common on a marine aquarium, but I feel like they should not be forsaken in the freshwater world as well, because if you have a battery backup, you can hook it onto your wall, drill it on, fasten it to your wall, and you can have it sitting there basically as a kill switch, that when as soon as the power goes out for some reason or other, that battery backup is going to kick in, but only for the most necessary equipment, because the battery backup is a battery and it's only got so much power. You know, it might only be able to run a couple of hours. So battery backup is not the most useful method. I find the generator would be far better. But if you're not there, or it goes off in the night, or different things like that, at least you've got a safety feature that is going to go and turn on your most necessary equipment whether you're there or not, and at least run it for a little while longer, giving you more time to sort everything out. So even a battery backup and a generator is definitely not overkill. It's definitely going to be used as long as you set it up right. They're the two ways that I'd go about, I guess, preparing for a blackout. I actually had neither of these. I know, very unorganized, but I do now. I have a generator. It's not actually mine, but I'm using it. So that's what I do in a blackout, guys. And yeah, cool.